Hello, this is Martin and Steve. You may notice something different about our next podcast. What episode is it, Steve? Tumbling.
It's
Dice?
19. It's number 19.
The 19th. We've had to change.
All visual now.
We've had to change how we do it. We'll explain why. Spotify emailed me 6 months ago and said that they're going to stop their talk and music system.
Which quite why we don't know.
Well, we've got theories, haven't we? But we can't do the podcast on Spotify anymore. Or we can, but we can't have the music. So what we're doing it on YouTube. We're giving this a go, and we're going to provide a playlist to go with this, so you can listen to the songs, and I'll construct a playlist for you to listen to. But it's effectively it's the same format.
Yeah.
There won't be songs coming up on YouTube, I don't think. I'm going to look into having little clips of songs, but if that doesn't happen,
it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Steve, explain Tumbling Dice, please.
Right. The format is we have three groups of randomly selected abstract nouns, randomly selected years, and randomly selected themes, something to do with rock and roll, very loosely, from each episode. So last week we picked out an abstract noun, a year, and a theme, to those of you who don't know how this works. And we each pick a track which sums that up. Together with that, we have Swap Shop.
We exchange records, and Steve gives me a record that he knows that I don't, and I give Steve a record that I know he doesn't know particularly well. We take it away, and we report back. What did you think of that record? So what were the...
So the categories last time then. Oh, and the quiz, of course. We'll start off with the quiz for you, but more on that anon. The abstracts this month were Pride. The year was 2015, and the theme was the Mercury Music Prize list, or the Mercury Music Prizes. Winners. Yeah.
So we'll...
and we'll reveal Swap Shops. Should we do that now?
Well, yeah, I've given you Squitty Politti,
Cupid and Psyche,
85,
and you had
in 1985.
Well done. And you had Blue Daisies, Darker Than Blue, which was from 2015, which is also our year.
Oh, by the way, this is my dining room, in case you wonder where we were.
Yeah, it's not the Ritz.
So
there you go.
Steve's staying over tonight, and this lad here will be going feral for a kebab in about 5 hours' time. So anyway, we'll get back to you now with the quiz questions.
Welcome back, all. So, to the quiz.
Well, we always get a friend or a family member to do our quiz for us. And we sort of booked to do this podcast a week or so ago.
And we were scrabbling around, weren't we?
We've got anyone to do the quiz.
But we do have friends.
We have friends. And we've got a friends WhatsApp group. And three of our dear friends have given a question each. So, Andrew, thank you. Marcus, thank you. Dave, thank you.
From me too.
Here are the questions. So, shall I do question one?
Yep.
This is from young Andrew. And it says here, what is the connection between Hounds of Love, congratulations,
which we're assuming is the...
Congratulations, and Riley Walker? And it says here, if you're struggling, there's an additional connection available in an email, another email, which we were struggling because we've looked at the other connection. And the other connection is the song or the album Solid Air,
which gave us a thought, and we'll come to that later.
But we'll do the answers at the end. Okay, Steve, question 2.
This is from Marcus. What links the following bands: Beach House, Fleet Foxes, Grizzly Bear, Plain Song, The Walkmen, and Wye Oak? That's Beach House, Fleet Foxes, Grizzly Bear, Plain Song, The Walkmen, and Wye Oak. Again, you came in with that one, didn't you? I was struggling.
Okay, I've got a thought. And the third question, they're all great questions. We're sort of okay on 2 of these from Dave. I'll tell you the question. A number of albums share their titles with previously released records. Can you identify the following artists and album titles? Dave's a stickler, young Dave. He's put 1 point for each correctly named artist and 1 for each title.
Mm.
So these are the original albums, or the original artist who released an album in 1984 that shares its title with a Beatles album.
I think we've got something there. Whose 2017 album had the same title as an Iggy Pop album? Whose 2017 album, same title as an Iggy Pop record?
Who released an album in 1990, the same title as an Ornette Coleman album?
And whose 2018 LP had the same name as a Sly and the Family Stone album?
So 84 shared with Beatles, 2017 Iggy Pop, 1990 Ornette Coleman, 2018 Sly Stone. So those are the questions. End of the podcast, we'll be back with the answers. So
We will.
Enjoy those.
So, out of the abstract envelope, and that we'll actually be seeing that later, won't they? People will be seeing, we'll be letting light in
You
on
can
magic
see the envelopes.
later. It was Pride.
Pride, yeah.
Which, like many abstracts, can mean many things.
I thought about a Pride of Lions, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of any songs about lions?
What's that Prefab Sprout one?
Oh, that's a great song.
Lions in
my own garden.
Lions in my
671.
yeah, Limoges.
Oh.
Yeah.
You've got Wim Away, Line 6 Tonight.
Line 6 Tonight.
Iron
Any
Lion,
reggae? The Lion of Judah.
Iron Lion Zion. Bob Marley.
Yeah.
3 lines on your shirt.
They're all there.
Ooh.
None of these were chosen.
No, we
staggeringly.
didn't. Good.
Right. So, what did you go for then?
Took me a while to decide what sort of pride I was going to talk about or think about. I was thinking about sort of the modern sort of pride movement, the gay movement,
which came in, which I looked at.
I've gone for a sort of a Black Pride song, and I've gone for Backlash Blues by Nina Simone from '67.
It was from a blues album, wasn't it?
It was. Nina Simone sings the blues. Now, a few years ago, Steve and I went to Manchester to see
where? Sorry,
Manchester. To see Chris and Neil, and we went to see a film, Steve, called Summer of Soul.
You did. It's brilliant.
I must confess that I fell asleep during that film because I fall asleep all the time in the cinema. But I did see it again on Disney Plus.
Right.
So I have seen it all the way through now.
I'm glad.
And it was just it's a mesmeric music documentary featuring about Black pride, Black music, Black culture.
It's in New York, isn't it?
Summer of Soul, '69 it was filmed. It was called the Harlem Cultural Festival.
It was over about 5 or 6 weeks.
Like
weekends,
6 weeks
wasn't it? Yeah.
And it sort of corresponded with the same time as Woodstock. So Woodstock was going on one of those weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows Woodstock.
I'd never heard of this.
Nobody knew about what people did, obviously.
Who was it? Was it Questlove?
It was Questlove.
Questlove who dug deep in the archive, didn't he?
There's been no footage of this festival scene until Questlove got the reels of tape.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic.
It's extraordinary.
It's a who's who of black music. Gladys Knight, Sly Stone, Mahalia Johnson, Mavis Staples, Stevie Wonder, B.B. King. Mainly music, but the film is quite astute in the way it fits together kind of news items and contemporary.
There's interviews, aren't there, with some of the festival goers?
Yeah.
Which are really, really good social documents of the time.
It's a beautiful film.
Fantastic stuff, yeah.
What were your best moments from it?
I like, Sly and the Family Stone. I mean, if I could go back and see a band that we can't really see anymore, everybody goes to Beatles. I'd probably, not desperately sure. I'd like to see the Beatles, but, there's a live experience, not great. The Who would probably possibly be one, or Sly Stone in about 69, 70.
What about Mud?
Or Mud. Sly Stone is just energy, just fantastic, and just, you let yourself go with Sly Stone. It's all funk energy, and a really, I mean, as I remember it, the Family Stone were a mixed race band, weren't they? Which was a big thing. Well, then they came out 67, 68. That's a big statement. Yeah. I liked Sly Stone's just always fantastic. From what I've seen, David Ruffin was very, very good.
I enjoyed the Stevie Wonder bits. Playing drums, brilliant drummer.
Mavis Staples was great. Was it the Staples Singers or just Mavis Staples? I can't remember. And Fifth Dimension. I
Was
love Fifth
Do you
Dimension.
know
I
what?
just think they're great.
What do you think about Fifth Dimension? I always assumed it was a white
Yeah,
bubblegum act,
yeah.
but they're a black harmony
Black
group.
Harmony Band. Yeah, they're just great.
And
It was great all the way through.
if you don't like Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In.
Yeah.
You don't like music.
Balloon.
Up and away.
Up and away is the Fifth Dimension. So yeah, just fantastic stuff. I think Sly and the Family Stone, really.
Yeah, good shout.
I think we came out, either I or you said, great lives, that's what you want to see live. And you can shove your Joy Division.
Okay.
That's a night out, isn't it?
Daring Manchester. For me, I agree with you, but I thought Nina Simone really stood out as perhaps the dominant performer. Mesmeric, uncompromising. She's really overtly political. No holds barred, compelling. And she had the audience in the palm of her hand, I think, in that film. So I've chosen a song called Backlash Blues. The backlash she refers to is kind of the opposition to civil rights by the white establishment. Sort of more generally, kind of authoritarianism is the backlash, and the need of oppressors to maintain the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
Not the band here. We're talking about keeping things the same. Now, Backlash Blues was a poem by a guy called Langdon Hughes. It was kind of a sign of hope for the black community during segregation and white supremacy. Nina Simone added the music and recorded it in '67. I just think it's a great song, Steve.
I didn't know it. I don't know the Nina Simone sings or Nina Sings the Blues LP particularly. I know great expert on Nina Simone.
It's just a powerful song, really political.
Everything about her is about power, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've never seen her smile.
No, that's interesting.
I've never seen. She fixes people with Nina Simone, Donald Trump. That's not. They've never mentioned the same sentence. She always sort of fixes performers, artists with this steely stare. She's got a frightening presence.
Who wrote a memoir recently called Nina Simone's Chewing Gum?
Warren Ellis, wasn't it?
He found some bad seeds. That's
right. Incredible presence. I mean, if I would have loved to have seen her.
Yeah. A lot of dignity, a lot of pride in this song. Mr. Backlash, just who do you think I am? You raise my taxes, freeze my wages, and send my son to Vietnam. That's my pride song, Steve. You've gone.
I've gone for a song we both know and both love from '76, Rod Stewart's "Killing of Georgie," which, if you know the track, you'll know the link, I guess, to the Georgie of the title was somebody that was a friend of Stewart and the Faces, I think.
Right. Okay.
Somebody that was known to the band, who was gay and who was killed. I think Stewart says. Stabbed, shot. Can't quite remember. This is
stabbed.
This is Rod Stewart on this song. He says he's asked about the killing of Georgie, and he says that was a true story about a gay friend of the Faces. He was especially close to me and Mac in McLaren, but he was shot or knifed. I can't remember which.
Right.
That was a song I wrote totally on my own over the chord of an open E. It's a very poignant song, asked the interviewer. I think it's Matt Snow, don't know. Did you feel you were going out on a limb with the theme? And if you think about it, it's pretty clear in the song's lyrics, and this is Rod Stewart, post Faces, but height of his fame in '76. And Stewart replies, he says, writing a gay song, it's probably because I was surrounded by gay people at that stage, gay PR man, gay manager, everyone around me was gay. I don't know whether that prompted me into it or not. I think it was a brave step, but it wasn't a risk, which is an interesting one, isn't it?
Because having endured 70s childhoods, songs representing gay culture in a positive way or normalising it,
I'd be struggling.
They were rare as hen's teeth.
Because Glad to Be Gay would have come out 79, 80?
Yeah.
Something like that. Layers of symbolism and metaphor, obviously, in those sort of songs.
What I like about this song is he was just gay. It's matter of fact, isn't it? It's almost I'm writing about a friend of mine. Yeah,
I think the brave thing about it was it was a single, not an LP track. Just it was released as a single, I think. Yeah. and that is a statement from Stuart that he says, I don't give a damn about what people think. I don't care about whether, I'm going to get it in the neck for this song. Rod Stewart, I can't help loving Rod Stewart.
No.
He's a pretty unreconstructed bloke. I mean, there's lots to raise an eyebrow about him, but I would contend that he is the greatest white rock voice. I just think that voice is absolutely extraordinary. The gravel, the grit, the depth. He had one of the greatest voices ever in popular music.
Yeah, sort of lovable rogue.
Yeah.
And actually, what's lovely...
Never took himself that seriously.
No, exactly.
That's the point of Rod Stewart, isn't it? Or seriously at all.
And all his ex-wives are still in touch, and they're very close.
Yes, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I'm with you. And he was kind of caricatured, wasn't he?
Yes.
The Kenny Everett with the great big backside.
He didn't do himself many favours with Do You Think I'm Sexy and all those videos sort of in the late 70s. He sort of went... But he would argue he sold a lot of records. People were going to see Rod Stewart as a big draw for a long time, I think, in the States.
He's got a great back catalogue.
Oh, incredible. The faces were great. Some of those early ones, early Rod Stewart, never... Every Picture Tells a Story, Never a Dull Moment, those LPs.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I've got a little box set in there, actually. Rod Stewart albums. Some really great songs. Anything more to say about Kenny?
No, just it's a beautiful song. It comes in parts 1 and 2. The second part is this beautiful kind of melancholic second or third to it.
I think it sounds like Give Peace a Chance.
It does. That has been suggested before.
Yeah.
But Lennon didn't seem too worried about it, I don't think, at the time.
Bizarrely, that's a Lennon and McCartney song because it was written when the Beatles were around. So contractually, every song was Lennon and McCartney. Yeah.
But so I think Lennon said something like, didn't he say the lawyers didn't spot it?
Right.
And that was it. So who knows?
Part 1. I like a good story. It's a story song.
Well, he's got form, hasn't he? Maggie May, all of these. He's great stuff.
Leaving home, and finding his way in New York. A bit like Maggie Way. Wake up, Maggie. I think I've got something to say to you.
It's a great opening. Great opening line. We could have had that for opening lines of songs. We had. I like it. It's not a remarkable track in the sense that it's pretty much a sort of country. Well, sort of country, sort of gentle sort of AOR rock. The tune, the chord changes are pretty obvious, but it's got that voice, it's got that story. It's a lovely little piece of music, and although Rod says it wasn't a risk, I think it was, but it's one that's paid off.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's to his credit.
We normally in the podcast we say, "Here come the songs." What I'm doing is there'll be a playlist on Spotify.
Yes, and do listen to them.
If you want to hear the 2 songs, they'll be on the Spotify playlist, which I'll let you know how to find it. I'll make it easy to find. Okay, thanks for listening. Here's the next section coming up. Welcome back. And we're going to talk about the year 2015. We always pick a year out. We've had lots of old years from the history times.
From the history times.
Early 70s, late 60s. But we were due a more recent year. Having said that, it's 9 years ago, but yes, 2015. Your choice, my friend, please.
Somebody we hold in great esteem.
Do you know what? We went nuts about him when he came out.
Unbelievable. Was Riley Walker. 2015, his album was Primrose Green, the one that really launched his second album, the one that really launched him. His first album on Tompkins Square was All Kinds of You, I think. I hadn't heard of him. I came across Riley Walker. I can't exactly remember. It would either have been just reading a review in Mojo or something. But I think I read first about him or Norman Records, which is many of you will know is an online record shop based up in Leeds. And I think I just looked at something on one of their emails, one of their sort of weekly send-outs.
They do a weekly what's coming up.
Yeah, and I just clicked on it for some reason. It said, I think it would have said something like Tim Buckley, John Martin, John Remborn influence. I thought, oh, hello, we'll have a look at this with my love of all of those people. and this Primrose Green, and it was only about 15, 16 quid. So I thought I'll give it a go. Comes through, and it's one of the, we were talking about this, weren't we? It's one of those records that the needle hit the groove, and within about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, I thought this is an absolutely phenomenal piece of work. And I think it's almost as if Riley Walker's gone into a laboratory and said, right, what record does Steve like? Because he's made a record which is so perfectly positioned for what I love. This record, if you'd have played it to me and I didn't know it was Riley Walker, you could have probably had me for a few minutes thinking it was a Tim Buckley outtake from 69, 68, 69, 70, that kind of thing. His voice sounds Tim Buckley-esque. He's got this drifting kind of acoustic folk jazz sort of drift move to it. And it's absolutely, if you don't know Riley Walker and you do know one or two, you do like your early 70s acoustic music, he's got it down to a T, but he's also got something of himself in it. And the whole album is fantastic. I'm going to pick the title track, but the whole album is this wonderful sort of jazzy, sort of folky, extended
kind of freestyle vocalizing as well.
It's really Tim Buckley, John Martin of the early 70s.
We saw him, Steve, didn't we, at St George's Hall?
We did.
And it was just him on stage with Danny Thompson, the great Danny Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, after the first song, we were on the front row, weren't we?
Yeah. Yes, I think we were.
We looked at each other and was like, "What?
This is
what?"
Yeah. Absolutely extraordinary. He was. His first album was a kind of sort of finger picking folk, Bert Jansch kind of thing. It was very, very good. And then subsequent to that, he's made a number of records with American, slightly more experimental jazz guitar players, which I don't know actually.
Deafman Glance, I liked.
Yeah, and his solo stuff, Deafman Glance is a good record. I really liked Course in Fable, which is his last LP,
I like that one.
Which is very good.
What's one of the complicated titles? I mean, something sings that.
The songs of sun. I can't remember what it is. I should have written it down.
Though.
Yeah, all of his solo, and he did the Lily White Sessions, which is his double album based on an old Dave Matthews LP. They're all fantastic. I mean, I don't know whether he's got new. He's always got new music out on sort of little micro labels and Husky Pants, which I think is now his label, which he's releasing on. But it is just fantastic. Yeah, a month or two's time.
We're going to see him in a month.
Yeah. I can't wait. Always worth checking him out when he's over.
I saw him at the Fleece once. Did I see him at the Thekla?
We saw him at the Thekla. Yeah, I didn't see him.
But that's St George's gig.
It was just amazing. Well, he's got Danny Thompson, and who's also a draw there, isn't he? He's old now, and I probably won't play live again. But
I remember Danny Thompson. He said, called him Mr. Thompson throughout. So Mr. Thompson's here on bass, and Danny Thompson said, "I could be at home now watching you flog it."
Yes, you know, Danny Thompson used to be in Pentangle. A staple of the sort of jazz and folk scenes of the 60s and 70s.
Might be a good quiz answer.
Yeah, he's played with Blooming.
No.
Yes. We'll come back to that later.
Good choice, pal. So you've gone for the title track, Primrose Green.
Title track from Primrose Green. It's a beautiful piece.
Which sounds like an idyllic sort of village green. But in fact, it's a lethal cocktail.
Indeed, yeah, it's a drink.
Yeah.
But great.
Good.
And you've gone for another.
One of my favourite bands, Steve. I've gone for the Decemberists, and I've gone for a track from the album called What a Terrible World, What a Beautiful World. And my song is actually a date. It's 12/17/12.
Yeah.
And there aren't many songs.
No, I was going to think of it. Yeah.
I couldn't think of any. Decemberists are the classic, I love their earlier stuff band. Having said this is one of the later albums.
It's December 63 by the...
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, carry on.
What a night.
What a night.
Interesting band, Decemberists. The first albums are
Canadian.
No, they're the archetypal Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. That's not Canadian.
They're very Portland. First albums, Castaways and Cutouts, Picaresque, which you like, Crane Wife, Her Majesty the Decemberist. Led by Colin Malloy. Their early records were very wordy, very detailed, full of kind of yarns, historical references. and it's a band that kind of attracts bookish, studious types who read lots into
Yeah.
lyrics. And I've got a note here, and Colin Malloy said about his audience. I look at the people in the first 10 rows, and they all look kind of pale and bespectacled. I honestly look out every night and think I could be friends with every single one of them.
Right.
There's this kind of bond between band and audience. Yeah, songs about American Civil War, Irish gangs, shipwrecks, spies, homesick sailors, and they're beautifully mocked on The Simpsons. They appear on The Simpsons.
Okay.
It's an episode where Homer befriends somebody from Portland, Oregon, and they realise that rents are quite cheap in Springfield.
Yeah.
So there's an influx of hipsters into Springfield,
Right.
including the
Yeah.
Decemberists come and live in Springfield. And Colin Malloy, the band leader, gets a job as a music teacher at Bart School. And there's a quote here. He teaches an elementary class. And Colin Malloy says in The Simpsons, "Who wants to learn a song about press gangs and infanticide?" So, like The Simpsons often does, it mocks and celebrates
right,
at
the
the
same time. Yeah. Well, the first track on Picaresque is the Infanta, isn't it?
Yes.
All hail the Infanta, which was a great opening song.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, What a Terrible World, What a Beautiful World. It's the 7th album. It's an album that finds the band seeking a new direction. Out go most of the songs about infantas and infanticide and press gangs. In come a lot of songs, kind of more personal, heartfelt songs. In fact, the first song on the album is called "The Singer Addresses His Audience," and it's a really unusual first track. It kind of breaks down the fourth wall. He's singing directly to the listener, and it's saying, we know you belong, we belong to you. We know you've built your life around us. Would we change? Well, we had to change." That's the opening lines of the first song.
Interesting. It's not an album I know like this, I have to say.
It's basically talking about the Decemberists or a fictional band, maybe both. It's kind of saying that the Decemberists have had to grow up a bit and earn a few quid and become a bit more commercial. Yeah. So don't worry, we're still going to be, you still like us, but we're not going to play the sort of old style songs. They're more sort of heartfelt songs about our own lives. I don't think the later albums are as good. I miss the old ones.
Crane Wife, wasn't it? Hazards of Love was seen as being big records, I seem to remember.
Ellis, what's he called? David Hepworth and Mark Ellen went absolutely nuts about Hazards of Love. They actually said it was the best album ever made.
Right, okay.
I think they retract that now. Anyway, good album. This song here, 12, 17, 12, jaw-dropping song. A real sit up and listen song. Utterly poignant. And the backdrop is one of those American school shootings. It was Sandy Hook Elementary School. 20 kids, 6 adults died. And Obama spoke 2 days later at the vigil on the date of this song title.
I was going to say, is that right? Okay.
And the title of the album, What a Terrible World, What a Beautiful World, it comes from his speech.
Right, okay.
It comes from Obama's speech. And you can sort of have this song in two ways, really. And Malloy places the shooting in the context of his own life. At the time of writing, he had his son was Hank. It is Hank, and he was 4 years old and autistic. And there was an autistic boy shot at Sandy Hook, and his wife was heavily pregnant with their second child. And it's a song about grieving. It's a song about hope, a song about love and despair and sort of those sort of dichotomies. It's a really beautiful, tender song, Steve, and it's from a band that I've loved that were kind of on the wane slightly. But I like this album, and I especially love this song very much.
Right.
So here we go. So hopefully on the playlist you'll listen to your song, mate, which
is Primrose Green by Riley Walker, title track of the album.
And my song is by the Decemberists. It's 12, 17, 12.
Prize. Search for the prize. What was the race for the prize? Race for the prize.
2 scientists await Zing.
That's enough of that.
Mercury Prize. Yeah, picking a song from an album that won the Mercury Prize. I used to love the Mercury Prize. Don't follow it as much as I used to. But I quite like the rationale, Steve. It's not based on sales or popularity or pin-ups. It's based on the strength of the recording. And I quite like that genre isn't an issue. So you've had jazz albums nominated, folk, classical, hip hop, soul, blues.
They used to have that thing, didn't they, where it got a bit sort of the token jazz record, the token modern classical record, which seems to have fallen away a bit now. But then, of course, you had the London jazz scene explodes and Ezra Collective win.
And a lot more urban in recent years, which is a wholly good thing. There's been no classical for about 15, 20 years, though.
No, I think,
John
Tavener and James McMillan.
We were sort of thinking or talking on the phone about what we could talk about. And we were sort of talking, there's two things the same almost. A miscarriage of justice, but also albums that perhaps could have won, but didn't. But
they were on the list?
Yeah. What would you say the biggest miscarriage of justice, Steve?
Well, I suppose the one everybody goes back to, and I'm not sure it isn't. I'm just looking at my phone here because I snapped some of the winners. Was when M People won. People went a little bit sort of crazy, didn't they?
Elegant Slumming.
Elegant Slumming. Not a record I know, so I can't criticise it. The problem here, I think, is a problem with perception and those who follow things like this. Is that M People were a very successful sort of pop soul band, would you call it? Pop dance band.
Yeah.
With which there was nothing wrong. But the thing is, they're not hip, cool, slightly underground. They're not edgy. They're not different. And so people got hot under the collar when they won. I mean, I can't remember what my view was. I probably thought, why's that pretty dull record won? But I'm not so sure that's right anymore. I think the problem with lists like this, there's only one perfect list, and that's yours.
True enough.
And so you can always get, it's like the Booker Prize or anything like that, isn't it? You can always get sort of slightly, sort of raise an eyebrow at record X winning.
It's like the breakdancing at the Olympics, Steve. It's purely subjective.
It's purely subjective. So I mean that's one of the ones. I mean,
but the thing is that year.
Well, yeah, I've got them here.
Blur's Park Life.
Yeah,
which I think is a fabulous record.
Yeah, a lot of people would agree that's the better record. His and Hers, Pulp.
Yeah.
Ian McNabb's Head Like a Rock was supposed to be very good. But you've also got things like Take That in there. Why not? Hugely successful pop band. They're going to be hugely successful for a reason. It's not my thing, but
I think that's probably the last time a band like Take That appeared on that list.
Yeah,
but interesting enough, Steve, I don't know how you feel about this, but Radiohead have never won.
No.
They've had 5 nominations, but never won. And when you consider who they were up against,
I'm just looking.
OK Computer in 97, and it was won by New Forms by Ronnie Size.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great record. But OK Computer was massive.
Yeah.
The great record by Radiohead, Kid A, I don't think was nominated.
Amnesiac was.
In Rainbows was nominated. Which I think
Kid A should have won.
Yeah.
That year. Well, should have.
In Rainbows was beaten by the Seldom Seen Kid by Elbow, which I think is just a bang average band for me.
Okay. I have no skin in the game with Elbow.
What album do you think should have won out of the whole of them? I've got one idea here.
What, out of the whole?
Which
the
is
best music?
Well, the one album that didn't get it that should have.
Of the ones. Well, should a different class have won it? Don't know.
I've got a suggestion to you.
Go on.
Skepta,
or possibly the one here. Sorry, as you asked, Tricky's Maxine K.
Right,
may very well have been a record that should have won.
Skepta's
overall.
Konnichiwa won it, and it was the same year that David Bowie's Black Star was nominated.
And that's the other one I've got written down somewhere here.
Yeah.
If I can find it in my notes. I've got OK Computer, Black Star.
Yeah.
I think the thing about Black Star, and I hope it comes up in one of our discussions. We haven't had 2016 yet, but I mean, I think it's one of the best Bowie records, but betting with everything. And if you ask anybody who loves their Bowie, what's your favourite Bowie record? It tends to they will always people will always change it after about from around 3 or 4 records. I always do it. It's either Hunky Dory or Low or Scary Monsters for me,
Yeah,
with some really Aladdin Sane is pushing it.
Same for me, but I go Sane over Monsters
until Black Star came along, and then I thought, blimey, that's cats and pigeons here. I think it's one of his most remarkable records.
It was a real artistic statement.
Yeah. And it shouldn't have won. And I think even if he hadn't have died, it should have won. A lot of people were saying Bowie's dead. Black Star has to win almost because of that. And that's not right. But it should probably, you're right, have won. Maxine K, I think, should have won.
Yeah, good shout. Okay, shall I talk about what I've chosen?
Go on then.
I've chosen the 94 winner. It's Dummy by Portishead. And I've chosen the song Glory Box from it.
That's single.
I'm not sure it was or not.
I can't remember.
The first single was Numb.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, Portishead formed in Bristol in 91. Do you know how they formed, Steve?
I can't remember. I may have probably read it, but I can't remember.
It was Jeff Barrow and Beth Gibbons.
Yeah.
They met on a coffee break during an enterprise allowance course.
Right.
They were both on.
That rings a vague bell.
Now, enterprise allowance was brought in by Thatcher in 83, which gave people a bit of a grant to create a business or create something. So along with Portishead forming out of it, Viz Comics started with that, Superdry, and Tracy Emin's career was started with the enterprise allowance. So thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Maggie. Yeah. And also Creation Records as well. Originally, Portishead were a duo. It was Jeff Barrow and Beth Gibbons. But
is it Gibbons or Gibbon?
Beth Gibbons. Adrian Utley played on the album on 9 tracks and co-produced it, and he became an official member of Portishead after Dummy was released.
Okay.
I was thinking of it as a 3-piece.
Yes,
it is.
Essentially,
but actually,
it is.
Dummy was a duo. Never knew. Critically acclaimed at the time, Dummy, but I think it's one of those records, Steve, that its reputation and the love for it and the acclaim critically has grown over the years.
I think it's magisterial. I mean, I remember playing it in '94, and because I was doing my teacher training in '94 in Bristol, so everything was kicking off in Bristol around '94 with the Tricky's first album coming out the next year. Massive Attack had obviously been around for a few years as a recording sort of entity, and also from, I suppose, going back to the mid '80s and the Dugout Club where they were playing from then on. But it seemed 94, 95 with, well, it was trip hop as it was called, wasn't it? I just thought I loved it because it sounded like, because it has that cymbalom sound, doesn't it? It sounds like the old John Barry. That's and I wouldn't be the first to say this. But it sounds like the old John Barry Ipcress File kind of spy film things. And there was a film that went with Dummy, which I had on video, and I've lost it, so I haven't seen it in years, so I don't remember much about it.
The cover of Dummy is a still from the film.
Yeah, from the film. And it was on Channel 4, so I was poised over the pause button, and I recorded it, but God knows where that went.
Yeah. Why I love Dummy? Well, first and foremost, it's one of those sort of, I've never heard anything quite like this before albums. So many components that simply just fit beautifully together. There's those yearning vocals of Beth, sort of the scratchiness, the glitchiness of it, sampling loops, that epic cinematic sound. You mean Utley bringing in the theremin and the what did you mention?
I think it's a cymbalom. It's got that sound. Whether it's that instrument or not, I don't know.
I like this. They had new ideas, so they were sampling old records. So there's Johnny Ray sampled, there's Isaac Hayes is sampled on it. But what they also did is they created their own music, put it onto vinyl records, a vinyl copy, and they kind of used it like, I know you love skateboarding, you'll enjoy this.
The irony.
They they'd use it as a skateboard around the studio records and like step on it and stuff to give it
It
a sort of
is
a vintage, sort of
right. Oh,
crackly
okay.
sort of
Right.
sound. So I think, yeah, really clever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, love. It all comes together
It
beautifully. All the
is. It
components
is a
to
whole.
this.
It's got a really nice. It doesn't. It's got. I haven't played the whole album for a long time, but it's got that sort of really sort of slow pace to it, hasn't it?
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
creeps, and it's a very kind of sinister sounding, dark sounding record, I think. I mean, there's not a lot of laughs in Portishead.
especially the second album.
Yeah, and Beth Gibbon, her album from this year, her first solo album, which I think is absolutely stunning, is also pretty dark.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what I didn't like about it, oh no, sorry, what I didn't like about what subsequently happened was this, when it was used famously, infamously
In This Life.
on This Life, and it was seen then to be some kind of, or people picked up as some kind of middle class dinner party music, or it accompanies
Emblematic of young professionals.
well, kind of middle class professionals. They were lawyers in that program, weren't they?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
Life. So it's sort of, and then was it Adam and Joe took the mickey out of it, didn't they? And it became this thing where middle class dinner parties aren't complete without either glory. With Glory Box playing in it, or Moon Safari by Air,
Yes.
sort of those two,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
But
They can't help that.
no, indeed, it's got nothing to do with them. It's a great record.
I've chosen Glory Box, the album closer.
Yeah,
it's less busy, less glitchy, more spacey than the other tracks. I love the heartfelt vocal from Beth, just spine tingling.
Yeah,
and there's sampled strings on it from an Isaac Hayes song. It's Ike's Rap 2. But I could have chosen any song.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's a great record. So I've chosen my Mercury Prize winner was Dummy Portishead song Glory Box. What about you?
PJ Harvey, second appearance by PJ Harvey on the podcast, from Let England Shake, which won in 2011. I think a fantastically emotional record, I think. So I'm just going back to my phone. So I'll just have a look at the.
It seems like yesterday that album.
Yeah, it came out in 2010, so it won the 2011.
14 years ago.
And here we go. She was up against, just do the Mercury bit, Metronomy, Adele, Everything, Ghost Poet, Anna Calvi, Tiny Temper, Elbow, again, Gwilym Simcock, James Blake, Katie B, King Creosote, and John Hopkins.
Did you say Gus Poyet?
No, I didn't say Gus Poyet at all.
Oh, Ghost Poet.
Ghost Poet.
Sorry.
Although Peanut Butter Blues and Melancholy Jam, I'd like to have Gus Poyet doing that. But no, I think I know one or two of those records. I don't know the rest, so I can't be.
I'll tell you what, though.
But my God, this record is by far and way better than that. Is I think artistically head and shoulders above what I know of the rest of that. Although there's some, undeniably good records. But for me, this was the only contender, I think, in this year. It's a really, really moving record, I think. And it's a record where the album before, White Chalk, was White Chalk just before? I think so. Was just her at a piano, very short records, about 20 or 30 minutes. And she'd taken, from 95 to 2000, she'd taken her style down from rock, sort of a more sort of aggressive sort of indie rock sound from the early stuff, then the slightly more polished stories from this the City Stories from the Sea, which also won the Mercury Prize. She's the only person to win it twice. Slightly more polished rock sound. And this is a record about the First World War. It's a record about history, but it's also a record about England now, or England then and England now. We're recording this after a week of, far-right agitation and disruption and all the horrors that therein. And I was playing Let England Shake yesterday, and I thought this record perfectly sums up a response to that. PJ Harvey standing back and saying she is not attacking England in some of those. Half of the songs are about the First World War, and so an English response to European conflict there. But it's also, some of it's about an England which should be but isn't. And I think she really does attack those who are taking England's name in vain, to put it,
Yeah.
sort of rather crudely. I just think it's a really, really emotionally charged record. It's got a great. The track I've chosen is called, I remember, "Written on the Forehead," and it's got a fantastic use of a sample in it. It's got an old reggae producer called Niney, something I can't remember the second name, a track called "Blood and Fire," and they used blood and fire in that. And I was again listening to it yesterday, having had the week we've had, and the blood and fire rhetoric of Rastafari, sort of against all the attacks on it and its culture. It's just fantastic. 90 The Observer, that's it.
Yeah.
Written down here. And it's a really fantastic use of that. It really is it's a really emotional listen, I think, this record. And a lot of it is sort of gentle brush drums, acoustic guitar, a really sort of dark England, but not an attack so much as a celebration really of what should be and what we can get.
And I think the sound of that album, it's very consistent throughout.
Yes.
A bit like the last one she brought out, actually.
Yeah, it is. Ironside, The Old Year Dying, which is brilliant. She's really becoming a sort of musician and poet of England.
Yeah, good call.
Which I really like, because the album that came after this, the Hope Demolition Project, is it called? It's the only one of hers I haven't got, where she went to Afghanistan and wrote songs about international conflict and refugees, and that it's not a record I can talk a lot about. It's the only album of hers I don't have, so I'm not going to kind of witter on from a position of ignorance. But she's got a real commitment to the essence of humanity, PJ Harvey.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with this record. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I remember buying it. She's one of those people, I don't quite know why I didn't buy that Hope Demolition record, but I just really I'm really interested in what the next PJ Harvey record is. I've never seen her live. That's what I really want to try and do. And she's a really important artist, I think. She's an important individual in musical culture.
You have to listen to it.
I think so. And they're all great. This is brilliant. So I've chosen, as I say, written on my forehead from PJ Harvey's Let England Shake, the winner of the Mercury Prize from 2011.
Yeah, I've got 1994's winner, Dummy, Portishead, and the song Glory Box. We're going to talk about our Swap Shop records now. And this is a record, Steve, that I gave you.
Shall I come in off my long run-up for this?
Well, back in the 80s, I used to wind you up about this record. I used to say that Scritti Politti were a punk band. Do you remember?
I know, yes, I remember.
And I also joined you up, the Scritti Politti fan club.
Oh, I vaguely remember.
Because you hated Scritti Politti so much.
Yes.
But anyway.
I can't remember getting anything.
40 years later.
I haven't got a badge.
Please tell me what you think about 1985's Cupid and Psyche.
Before I come on to the record itself, I think what I really like about Scritti Politti is not really Scritti Politti, but it's Green. I've always liked Green Gartside. For those who don't know much about Scritti Politti, the sort of presiding figure. They were a trio, weren't they? 78, 79. Who released a series of 12 inches, 4-track EPs, Rough Trade. They were Rough Trade, weren't they? Yeah. They were one of the very early sort of DIY sort of bands, weren't they?
They actually brought out how to make a record.
That's right. You can see. Didn't Green say something like he was sat in Jeff Travis's kitchen stapling things together to send out?
Yeah.
And the Scritti Politti of 78, 79, 80, your Mesthetics, Skank Block Bologna, which is a fantastic record. That's very much me, very much sort of post-punk, almost post-punk, not by numbers, but the absolute essence of what post-punk would be. Marxist collectives, mentioning Gramsci and Derrida in interviews. There's a great, for those of you who listen to Rock's Back Pages, their podcast, Mark, second name escapes me, but who's the chief archivist? He always says one of his kind of his head sinks when he has to sort of transcribe an old NME interview with Green by Ian Penman, because he doesn't understand any of it.
Yeah.
It's all deconstruction and post-structuralist and all this sort of thing.
Well, of course, he forgot to eat for a while because he was thinking too much, famously. He had a
Yes,
sort of nervous breakdown. He was just thinking about philosophy all day,
in
forgetting
a
to
bed
eat.
sitting,
Yeah.
yeah. And they make these series of incredibly cool records. I don't think they sell particularly well, but it would have been it was Paul Morley and Ian Penman had joined the Enemy in 77, 78, that kind of time, and they were almost made for Ian Penman to write pages and pages about them.
Yeah.
And then 82 is Songs to Remember, isn't it, with The Sweetest Girl?
Yeah.
Is that on that
It
album?
is. Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
which is a sort of quite a big change, isn't it? That's the first.
It's sort of it's the halfway meeting point between the
Cupid and Psyche, and
yeah.
And then 85 in comes Cupid and Psyche. I mean, I'll put my cards on the table. It's still not a record I like or love very much. It's a record that I can see is brilliantly made. It is a fantastically made record. No, it's almost none more 85 sounding than this record, Synclavier and the synth drums and all that kind of thing, I think. For me, this record is all about surface. It's all about the surface of it. It reminds me of Penthouse and Pavement and that sort of, what was the cover of Penthouse and Pavement when they're all sort of
on
city
mobiles,
slickers? Yeah. It reminds me of that, and it reminds me of Green. I mean, my view on this is you can intellectualize all you like, but I think he just wanted to make a few quid. I think he'd had enough.
He had. You're right. In fact,
go on. You know more than I do.
Yeah, I think he asked to leave Rough Trade because they didn't have enough money for the budget for Cupid and Psyche.
Right. Okay.
So I think this is on Virgin. So they wanted a big production.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a business. It's show business.
But what I like about it, though, Steve, is I'm a great sucker for saccharine pop.
Yes.
And
which is what this is.
There are plenty of saccharine pop albums. There are plenty, maybe fewer, but still plenty of records that are intellectualizing, clever dick wordplay. But this is the one that combines them both, really.
Yeah.
What I like about this is it just sounds great, and it's great melodies and great pop songs. But also, it's that what you were referring to earlier is what's he actually talking about? Like the Word Girl, for example.
Yeah.
You think it was a song about a girl, but actually, he's talking about the abstractions of the word, the actual word girl in pop music. He's a real thinker. Really.
He is. I've got a lot. I quite like reading about him and reading what he says rather than listening to his records. I mean, to be honest, I don't find much of a difference personally between this and Haircut 100 or Roman Holiday or that kind of thing. I know that's a bit of an anathema to say, and I think if you'd have put this record out under any other name, it's a new record and it's not Scritti Politti, it's whoever. I think a lot of people bought this record because it's by Scritti Politti, and they sort of think they should like it.
Me.
Because of the history of Scritti Politti.
That's me you're talking about.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was Simon Reynolds, who we mentioned a lot on this podcast, was saying that, when he was at Oxford, or it would have been towards the end of his Oxford, this record came out in their last year, or perhaps he's talking about Songs to Remember a bit more. That was the record that everybody was playing at Oxford.
Yeah.
I just think it's a brilliant record of sheen and surface. For me, I can't get beyond that. 3 or 4 songs is enough of this record.
That's interesting.
For me.
I played it the other day, and I bloody loved it.
It's not. I don't think I admire it even, but I see it as a technical achievement, really. But the other thing, of course, about this record is that Miles Davis heard it.
Oh, and
he covered Perfect Way on Tutu. And I mean, Green says he turned up to the studios when they were, because he plays trumpet on O Patty,
right,
from Provision, and you think, Green's going, Miles Davis is calling at the studio because they must record it in New York, I guess, and he's coming around and playing on it, and they're thinking, we've got Miles bloody Davis playing on this record. I mean, and Miles Davis you can sort of see a link a little bit between this and 2-2 because he went sort of slightly more sort of polished AOR, MOR, wine bar jazz. But anything with Miles Davis on it has got to be worth a few quid in my book. But
Okay.
I find it very difficult to love and enjoy.
I was hoping you'd
It's
be
just
converted.
I'm afraid not, Chief. I'm afraid not. The track I've chosen is it called Lover in All? I think it's called Love in All. I forgot to write it down. I'll have a look at it later.
Yes,
it's one of the later tracks. I can't remember what it's called, but we'll find that out for you. Should have written that one down.
Lover to Call,
something like that.
Yeah,
it's your record.
Well, you gave me another album from
2015, yeah,
bizarrely,
which didn't trouble the Mercury.
Bizarrely, the podcast before, you had a 2015 record as well. You had Jessica Pratt's.
Yes, it was a great record. I really loved that. You would have chosen that, I guess, wouldn't you?
I probably would have done. Yeah. Well, you've given me a record by an artist called Blue Daisy, who I think is a Nigerian.
Kwesi Darko is his name.
And the album's called Darker Than Blue. Unlike you, Steve, I'm going to say positive things about your record. I very much.
But that's why we love this, you know.
Yeah. Very much like this record. It's very much up my street, really. There's lots going on.
I thought it would be.
Takes a few plays, but plenty to think about, plenty to enjoy. It's hard to pin a genre on this record. I mean, you could dubstep, urban, hip hop, trip hop. It's an amalgam of a lot of those things. It's a very dark and brooding album, very intense.
It is.
Some quite unexpected twists, and in turns, it's very personal. Heart on sleeve. It's quite cinematic. It reminded me a little of Dean Blunt, who I gave you a record by Dean Blunt recently. Maybe a little bit of Salt, SAULT. That's sort of that modern sort of soul collective.
Yeah.
Bit of Tricky, maybe.
Yeah, there's certainly some sonic allusions to Tricky.
Yeah, it's quite an uncomfortable listen at times. It's not easy listening by any means. Dark themes, death, despair. But, I mean, I like listening to miserable records.
Apart from Cupid and Psyche 85.
So I've chosen a song called Daydreaming, Steve.
Okay.
Lots going on, different voices in it. And I love the beats on this track as well. And
I think that's the one with sort of a really good bass line on it. I can't remember whether it's that one.
Yeah. So I've chosen Daydreaming.
I think it's a great record. I came across this. I think I was listening to I have a reasonable memory of listening to some hip hop on Spotify, and I like a bit like jazz. I love jazz, and a lot of great jazz is historically American. But I'm really interested in sort of 60s and 70s British jazz, when America was just, modern jazz was totally American. There's some great British jazz of that time, which we've talked about with Nucleus and Ian Carr and Don Rendell. But also hip hop. I think there's some really, really interesting sort of British hip hop. That's Racist and Blue Daisy. And I think I just came. It just said, if you like, listen to this. So I clicked on it and just fell in love with it. I think it's sonically, there's a real kind of brooding, heavy presence to a lot of the sound on it. It's not a lot of usual, I would guess, either samples or sounds from what you might call commercial hip hop. It almost sounds like, there's a heavy rock sort of metal guitar solo bit on one track, and used unashamedly, not in a sort of strange way. It's just put on there. It's a very kind of thick, slightly mysterious, spooky mush of sound in the background. And we've talked before, may even been with Dean Blunt, one or two other records, where what I really like is a sort of slightly out of focus wooziness. That a lot of commercial hip hop is very, the beats are precise and great. The beats are precise, the language is clear, aggressive, precise, in your face kind of stuff. This is not that at all. It's completely different. A lot of it, there's a track called 6 Days, I think, on this. It reminds me of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It has that sort of, you said cinematic, a sort of, dark group feel that Cave gets with his gothic-esque tales. So I think it sounds a lot like things that aren't normally hip-hop sounding. in some respects. If you do like this record, when you listen to a bit of it, it's very much like Tricky's second album, Pre-Millennium Tension. It's got that really dark, out of focusness about it, which I think Pre-Millennium Tension. We were talking earlier about Max and K. Pre-Millennium Tension is Tricky's masterpiece. I think it's a great record. Nothing since, I don't think, from him.
He's done a lot of production, hasn't
Done
he?
a lot of production,
Yeah.
which I guess a lot of hip hop sort of artists do, because it's something that moves into. A lot of it is produced and studio bound.
So on the playlist, there's going to be from the album you gave me. It's going to be "Daydreaming" by Blue Daisy.
Put Perfect Way on it, because I'll choose Perfect Way because it's the Miles Davis.
No, it's "Lover to Fall."
Lover to Fall.
Yes.
No, I'm changing. I want Perfect Day.
Perfect Day.
Perfect Way.
Ah!
Perfect Way. Miles Davis.
What's Perfect Day? It's Lou Reed.
Lou Reed.
Yeah. Anyway, coming up next will be the
Quiz answers.
Quiz answers. Welcome back.
Welcome back, folks.
We're going to tie up a few loose ends now. We're going to go through the quiz. Question 1, my friend.
What's the connection between Hounds of Love, Congratulations, and Riley Walker?
Well, we cheated. Well, we didn't cheat.
No.
But the option was to get a fourth link, which kind of gave it to us. We didn't get it for the fourth link.
No.
The fourth link was Solid Air.
So we think it's probably Danny Thompson may have played on all of these records.
Well, we definitely Hounds of Love, definitely Solid Air, definitely Riley Walker, because we saw them. But we didn't know he played on Cliff's Congratulations.
Yeah, I didn't know. He certainly has played with Kate Bush. Whether it was definitely Hounds of Love, but we're making that guess, I guess, aren't we?
I've got the answers here. Answer 1, Danny Thompson is the link.
Lovely.
Thank you, Andrew, for that question. Read out question 2, mate.
Links, this is from Marcus. Beach House, Fleet Foxes, Grizzly Bear, Plainsong, The Walkman, and Wye Oak.
Well,
I was struggling with this.
My in was that I was actually stood by Marcus watching some people do this at End of the Road Festival, and I think it's the Gene Clark No Other project.
Right.
So checking the answers here. Yes, they formed a supergroup and performed as the Gene Clark No Other Band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dave said 1 point for the artist.
1 point for each correctly named artist and 1 for each title.
So tell me what the question is again, pal.
Albums that share the number of albums share their titles with previously released records. Can you identify the following artists and album titles? So the first one, who released an album in 1984, obviously, that shared its title with a Beatles album?
So Let It Be.
And the
Replacements. So we get, yes, correct, 2 points.
2017, same title as an Iggy Pop album. We were iffing and butting with The Idiot and Lust for Life, weren't we?
Plug for one, Steve.
Lust for Life.
Correct.
Right.
We get a point. The artist is Lana Del Rey.
Yeah, okay.
One of my younger daughter Florrie's great favourites.
Ian Penman really likes.
Okay.
Lana Del Rey loves her voice. Who released an album in 1990 that had the same title as an album by Ornette Coleman? I'm going to go the album title's Free Jazz.
Okay, well, it's not actually. It's called This Is Our Music.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Yeah.
Galaxy 500.
Good question. The only, what was it? The Shape of Jazz to Come. I think we had the title by Ornette Coleman, which I don't know. Great, good one. And 2018 album, same name as Sly and the Family Stones record. The title of the album?
Yeah, there's a riot going on.
And that's Yola Tango.
Yola Tango. We get 2 points for that. So thanks, Dave.
Yep.
This is a bit of a Davism here. We can argue later as to whether the second G in going, as opposed to an apostrophe, invalidates this. So Yola Tango, it's the word going.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure, Dave. I think
you've let everyone down.
Yeah.
No, good question, pal, and well, pals.
Mm.
I think we scored pretty well there. Should we give ourselves 75%?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, good stuff.
No, good questions.
Yeah, thanks, lads. Appreciate it. What's the next bit of business, Steve?
It's swapping of records.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, I wish I'd texted you and said, actually physically bring it along, because this is my record to you. Here it is. It's James Holden and the Animal Spirits, and the album's called The Animal Spirits.
Right, thank you very much.
So that's from, I think,
maybe this cover's been in your flat for a while, and I wondered what it was. Excellent.
From about 3 or 4 years ago.
Mine is, I don't have it on vinyl actually. It's a Spotify record I've done over the years. Is Running on Empty from 1977 by Jackson Browne.
Look forward to that.
And our favourite bit.
Yeah. Do you know what, Steve? I'm going to confess live on air here. I thought there were more abstracts in there.
Right.
I think I may have lost some. They might have fallen out. But anyway, let's have a
In an
go.
abstract way.
You picking or am I?
Yes, we're running on empty with abstracts.
Right, here we go. I'm going to just put my arm around you now.
Oh, hello.
It's friendship.
Lovely. Years.
Yes.
Friendship.
Friendship's a good one.
Yeah, we
It's often quite negative, aren't they? Here we go, mate. Get in there. The year. It's a big reveal.
1993.
Funny little year.
Funny little year. We all say that. 1993, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's you for the theme. There's probably people in the podcast are now sort of jaws dropping at this. So this is what it looks like. You lucky people.
This is the theme.
What have you done with a massive glass
hang
of
on,
gin?
I've got one there. Yeah, this one. Oh, all right, okay. It's the word flute.
Right.
Songs featuring a flute.
Well, okay.
Anyway.
Betting without.
So, Friendship, 93, flute.
And those two records, Jackson Browne and James Holden.
It's getting darker outside.
Yes.
We're going to go out for a drink in a bit.
Beer and who
Beer
knows
and
where
kebab.
it'll end.
Thank
you for watching
and listening.
listening.
By the way, you can always just not watch us and just
please.
listen.
Yeah.
Just listen to it. But I'm going to put up a Spotify playlist with the 8 tracks on. I'll think about other things I can do with this. I've got to edit it all. I've got a clue what I'm doing. So this may never be seen.
Is that shown?
Yes.
Right. Toodle pip.
See you later. Bye.